Hello there, this is Rom Wills, and I'm coming at you raw. Today, I'm going to talk about flowing between select and non select. Anyone who's read my books or read my blogs or watched my videos know, excuse me for a second there, know I talk about how women divide men into two categories for relationships, dating, and sex. That's select and non select. The select men, those are the ones who get the panties, the midnight booty calls, the shopping for lingerie, the blowjobs, the biscuits and gravy. And I do mean biscuits and gravy, some actual food. They gonna cook for you. Non-select, they're the guys who they ain't getting anything. If they get any sex, they struggling for it. If they get with a woman, he's low on the list of priorities for her. All right, we got all that. Now, keep in mind when I'm talking about the select and non-select thing. It's very fluid, meaning someone isn't select to all women and someone isn't non-select to all women. For example, now I talk a lot about like Mr. Goodbar, the good man, and all of that. Now, if they go into a room of 20 women, they might get play from 17 of the women, and that's being extremely generous. That good man, there's 3 women ain't gonna be feeling him. So for 17 women, he's select, and for 3 of them, he's non-select. And life being what it is, the non-select ones are probably the ones he actually want to get with. That's just how life is. And then, if you turn that around, right, and you got that non-select guy, 17 of the women are rejecting him, ain't feeling him, but 3 are feeling him. Shoot, for him, for them, that man is the good man. He's the man, he's the alpha male. And see, here's the thing about it. When I talk about these things, the reality is I can only talk in general terms. I mean, any of these conversations, that's why sometimes when somebody, they come on here, or not just my video, but anybody's video, and say, well, I'm not like that. Okay, good. It's all we can do. We can't, like, anybody talking on these subjects, male or female, no one can take them what they saying personally unless they say something that's specific to you. You can't take them personally. You can only talk in generalities. And that's the thing about this whole, my discussion of the select, non-select. I'm talking in general terms. Now, the reality is it exists. It still exists. But, and I describe it in general terms, but here's the thing. This is the thing for the men listening especially. And women know this already, even though, they still trying to admit that this thing, or they not trying to admit that this thing even exists. But women, every single woman who adheres to that, and most of them do, but every single woman is going to have her own personal select, non-select thing. That's the thing. Because most intelligent women, if they got any semblance of intelligence, they realize they can't be that restrictive and still find a mate. So they're going to have to make adjustments. And they're going to have to make a lot of adjustments. And then as they grow older and hopefully get some wisdom, they're going to expand who they consider select. But the reality is, when a woman is choosing a man, there are many factors involved. That's why you have situations where a man he could be tall, he could be muscular, he could be, considered handsome by most people who see him, male or female, and he still have trouble getting play. That's because that's not the only factor. Or another thing is, like, you have a lot of men out here who make a lot of money, who are non-select, and generally non-select. Non-select to most of the women that see them. And they could even have some degree of looks. and they have money. They have it visibly. You know, they driving a big car, they got the big house, and they still having trouble. That's because there's more things that go into being select and non-select. And like I said, it shifts. It shifts. Now with women, you know, there's several. Like a man could be initially non-select to her, and then she find out something about him, and all of a sudden she get interested quickly. And it's not always about money either, like finding out he don't hit the lottery. Nah, nah. I'll give you a couple examples from my own life. Because, you know, one of the things with me, I talk about what I know. So, I remember, like, if anybody who listened to my How Ron Wills Learn the Game know, you know, my grandmother, you know, may she rest in peace, she pretty much raised me, you know, from the time I was like 10 years old. So, and you know, like I said, she had a little bit of money. She had a little bit of money, so, you know, she saw I was a smart kid, so you know, she made sure I went to this private school in D.C. And I don't really want to put the name out, but it was at the time it was fairly prominent. It was at the time. I don't know what it is now, but in the 80s, you know, you say you went to this school and yeah, you say you went to this school and you know, people would be like, "Oh, wow." I don't know what his rep is now. You know, he had a good academic reputation back then, and you know, also, you know, very good sports teams. So I remember one time went over some friend of hers house, right? And this was the summer before I was supposed to start at this school. And you know, her friend had some young, you know, some daughters there or something, and they were blatantly unimpressed with me. They weren't giving me no look or anything. And see, you know, grandma, she was a church woman, but she had a PhD in common sense. She peeped everything. That's one thing about her. You know, yeah, she was in the church and everything, but you know, she'd go to any church, but she had a lot of street sense. And she peeped how these women were treating it, you know. Grandmothers, mothers who like really love their sons or grandsons, they ain't going for that shit. So she's like, all right, I'm gonna show these heifers. I could just tell by looking at her face. She just casually threw out that I was going to start going to this particular school. These women changed up. They were like, "You going there? You going there? Oh man!" I saw a little smile on her face, and I was like, "All right, grandma, my girl." Anyway, all of a sudden, I went from non-select to select with these young girls, right? And you know, I ain't really pursue it or anything like that because I was a little shy back then, believe it or not. But you know, it was just kind of interesting. And even still going to this high school, I remember I could go to a party because at the time it was an all boys school. But I could go to a party or, you know, dance somewhere. All I had to do was mention the school name or say hi to somebody else who went to that school that people knew, and that was good for at least a phone number. You know, I was select just by going to this school. And, you know, that's how it works. That's how it works. And let me give you another example. It was on this job I was on years ago, right? And this woman, you know, they had different coworkers. They had a lot of coworkers on one of those type of jobs. They had a lot of people there, right? And she didn't say nothing to me. She wouldn't even look my way. But we had a mutual friend that she would talk to. And, you know, this dude knew what I was all about. He got around to telling this woman what I was all about. All of a sudden, I couldn't get rid of this woman. I was like, I mean, it was almost like other people were picking up on it, and she was just blatantly choosing. That's because she's one of the few women that actually read me correctly. Well, she didn't read me, but just from what he was saying, she was able to say, "Oh, this that type of brother, okay," and that's what she was turned on by. You know, she was turned on by this particular thing. So she was like, yeah, I couldn't get rid of her. So I went from non-select to select. And see, it can happen like that. Now, you take those two examples, now I might meet somebody else who didn't like the high school I went to. And she might have been like, ooh, I'd have stayed non-select. Or, this particular aspect of me, which I don't talk about. I don't talk about publicly. It's just something in my character that, believe it or not, if I mention it, trust me, it'll give me pussy. Seriously, it's that type of thing. But few black women recognize it in a man, to be honest, and I'm just gonna say it like that. But because they don't have a context to recognize it, to be honest. But that's another video. Anyway, say it been another woman, she peeped the same thing. She might have been turned off by it. So I'd still stay non-select. And see, that's how it is. You can flow back and forth. Now, to other women on that same job, I was select anyway. They were trying to get at me, but not to this one until she found out what I was really about. And that's how it is. And see, those are one example, but it can shift. A person can flow in a different way. Say, you got somebody, they from some small town where they the big man at the high school. They the star athlete, most popular dude. They got all the local girls going crazy over them, right? They select. They the alpha male. Now, this dude go away to college. Now, even though this dude was like, I don't know, say he was a star on the basketball team, he wasn't enough of a star to get a Division I scholarship. So when he goes to his new school, at best he might be able to play intramurals or something. Now, he goes there, it's a totally different environment. Since he came from a small town, he don't know those fast urban ways or anything like that. And at this particular college, you either got to be, on the football basketball team, or you got to be in one of the frats. And he ain't really the frat type of person. So all of a sudden, he goes from one situation where he is select to another situation where he's non-select. And anybody who's gone to any colleges know that. There's been plenty of like stars at their local high schools or in their local towns. They go to a college or something like that. They change that environment. All of a sudden, it's different. They can go from the top dog to, the underdog. And, and they flow in between. Now, he might could, figure out something, join the frat, or, somehow try to get on one of the sports teams to get back that status. But, he's still flowing between both. Now, when that same dude might go back to his little small town, right? And then, he the big man, got the degree. He might, depending on the area where people may not have degrees, shoot, he goes right back to being select. Y'all see what I'm saying there? See, it's different environments. See, a lot of people, like a lot of men, are, they'll identify themselves as non-select. The women ain't feeling them in a particular area. Sometimes they need to move. Seriously, they might need to travel. They might just be in a different area. Because one thing, just traveling around in different cities in the country, in different areas, you could be the man in one area and ain't shit in another area, depending on what jobs are around there, what the businesses are, what the subcultures are around there. And speaking of subcultures, there's a good example of shifting from select to non-select. And this one involves, even though this select non-select affects all races, this one specifically involves black men, right? It was, I'll say back early 90s. This dude I would work out in the gym with invited me to a party. He said, yeah, come over to my place. I'm having a party. All these fine women to be there, right? And, he a black man. I'm thinking, oh, well, you know what? I need to like repopulate the stable anyway. So, I went to the party. There were a bunch of beautiful ass women there. Not one of them was black. It was nothing in there but women specifically from Scandinavian countries, mainly Denmark. I stumbled on like this little subculture that was in DC. I don't know if it's still there. Honestly, don't. It was primarily like Danish nannies and stuff. And for whatever reason, they love brothers. And it was deep to the point it was actually mentioned in a newspaper article. That's how deep that shit was. It was actually mentioned in a newspaper article, like in a major newspaper in DC. I think it was like a Post article or something, Washington Post. And it was talking about nannies in general, and it made a mention that a concern, actual concern, this tells you a lot, that a lot of these nannies would come over and they would hook up with black men. Anyway, I was observing this little subculture. Now, anybody who's ever read my blog, like now you who's like following me even before I like started like doing stuff on YouTube, I got a strong interest in subculture, so I always pay attention to like any nuances. Now you can get some large subcultures, you can get a small one. This was kind of small because it was kind of centered like with this social group of black men and Danish women. But I observed one thing with the men. Most of these men would be considered non-select by black women. They would be considered lame. They would be considered nerdy. They would be considered Oreos. They would be considered a lot of stuff. But yet, when they were with these Danish women, who they were fine. It's like no other way to say it. You had one of them, like she had probably the shapeliest legs I ever seen on a human female, and she never wore heels. That's how shapely her legs were. She could wear flats, and her legs were shapelier than anybody. You had this situation where very attractive Danish women were basically just getting up in the face of these ordinary brothers, regular dudes. Dudes who wouldn't get played from, some bougie sister or some, some ratchet babe, some fat butt project pussy or something. They wouldn't get that play from them. So these dudes went from an outside environment where they were non-select to one where they were select. And it's like that with any subculture. That's just one little tiny subculture. But if you look in any community or deal with any woman, her select non-select thing is going to be filtered through the eyes of whatever subculture she's a part of. For example, I know a young lady, right? She is big into the church. Like she's a member of one of those church denominations where women don't wear pants. And she's like, I like messing with her sometimes. She's real sweet though. She's real sweet, really genuine. Really one of the few women who can make me laugh on a consistent basis. But I like messing with her because I say, yeah, you gonna hook up with that Muslim dude. You gonna have to give up those pork chops. And she'd be like, stop playing, Rom, stop playing. But her select man is pretty much going to be a minister or the choir, well, maybe not the choir director, we know about them, but it's going to be somebody up in a church because she got first lady of a church written all over her. Like, she won't mess with no dude who don't look clean cut. Like, she even said something about dudes wearing locks one time. Like, ooh, now that dude better look like he spent like 9 days a week up in the church. That type of dude. That's who she checking for. And a lot of women, that's their select, non-select. See, it's filtered through that subculture. Now you also got some women, because of their social class, they ain't gonna mess with a woman. They ain't gonna mess with a dude who doesn't have a bachelor's degree. Or we already know about the money piece. Everybody know about that. But you get some women, if they mess with that dude, he got to be a part of their social class, or they not accepting him. In some cases, I'm gonna tell you what deep is deep. Like some women, even for their non-select dudes, if that man is in their circle, he got to be a part of their social class. So if a woman is upper middle class, and at least think she is, she ain't messing with some dude who might be working class, no matter how much money he make, no matter how cute he is, how many inches he got on him. She ain't gonna mess with him because he's in her non-select. Because her select is men in her particular social milieu. And that's the thing. Now, a particular dude who ain't a part of that, he could be like the man with any other woman. Select with any other woman, but as soon as he counter her, he's automatically non-select. Like I knew this woman, and for people in the black community, they don't know what I'm saying when I'm saying this. She was bougie. like they like upper middle class. Like she lived in my apartment building. She wasn't fucking with no dudes who weren't a part of that, like, quote unquote black elite. She wasn't fucking with them. That whole bougie crowd. She wasn't fucking with them. Because there was a group of us, we saw the dude she messed with, we were clowning him. Because he looked like a straight up lame. To us anyway, we were like, why she with him? Because she was kind of fine, man. She had a nice body, pretty. But the dude she messed with, we were like, dang, he don't look like all that. But, that was a part of a social class. And, that's select for. So, you get that, but you put that same dude that she found to be select, and she was gushing all over. Shoot, you put her with some hood chicks or some regular working class black women and stuff. Shoot, that dude would be called. He would be called lame. We were just jealous calling him lame, but they would actually call him lame. But that's just how it is. That's just how it is. And even within a relationship, what happens is this: a lot of women, there's many women who can marry that select man. They marry that mass man. The guy got that money and stuff. He got that status. He select to him. But see, they see past that mask. After they've been with him a while, they start seeing his real face and who he really is. All of a sudden that E-class don't mean as much, and that money don't mean as much. All of a sudden they got to start dealing with that dude's real personality. They like, damn, this dude got some issues. One of my mentors said that about this woman. I ain't gonna call this comedian's name, but what he said was the woman was cool, when she got with this comedian, she married him. But then as she got to know him, she found out this dude got some serious problems. And like I said, I don't want to call the dude's name he was talking about, but all you had to do really is see all the problems some of these women are having with some of these superstars once they marry them or once they get them. They be finding out some shit. So all of a sudden that man goes from select to non-select. And another thing, even with the good man, there's a whole lot of women there. They'll get that guy because he handsome, he buff, he got that 10 inches and all of that. And they all happy, they blissed out, till that first cutoff notice come. Till they realize this dude ain't doing shit with his life. And plenty of women have done that. They got with some dude just because he looked good. He was all select. But then when real life kick in, they need that dude to grow up a little bit, or be like more responsible instead of being fun. All of a sudden it changes up. So, he goes from select to non-select. And another thing too, sometimes, especially if a dude's being select is based on like his body build, it's hard for a lot of men to maintain that body build into old age. You get a few who can do it, but that's a lot of hard work. Trust me. I'm in very good shape for somebody my age, but yeah, shoot, brother guy will be watching what he eating and everything. So that's hard. If that's your calling card, your body, it's hard for a dude to maintain that. And like I said, if that dude ain't bringing some other shit to the table, if all he bringing is his sex appeal, that shit get old, when they sitting there in the dark. Or, some serious shit happen and she need him to step the fuck up instead of being a boy toy. So that shifts. So, I've said a lot. But, bottom line is, man, for all the men listening to it, yeah, they select. Women put them into a select, non-select category, but remember that shit changes from where you living at, changes by the subculture you in, by whatever religion you practice, depends on whatever group you at. You can be the select man on your job, and then you get back in the neighborhood and they like you invisible. You could be a select man with a different race of women than your own women. That happens with a lot of guys. So it's like, it flows. It flows. See, a man is going to be select and non-select to different women. What a man has to do is really just find out who he selected, who choosing up on him, and deal with them. Don't mess with somebody who sees you as non-select. And you gonna know she see you as select, cause like I said, she gonna make you some biscuits and gravy. And I mean that literally. Like I always say, I mean that literally. Anyway, this has been long enough. I think I'm flowing a little bit too much. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.